Here's the story. As I say, I know I've told the story, but I want to tell the story again. Maybe people forgot. Maybe I forgot that. Maybe I didn't tell it. Okay. The story goes like this: that there was a um, maybe I'll tell a story, and a second story afterwards. A Jew that went through the Holocaust. Got out of the Holocaust. He was, I don't know, 15, 16 years old. And of course, everybody that went through the Holocaust, they were all broken. He lost his family and everything. He saw the Germans kill everybody. And he also saw that God seemingly didn't really care, you know. So consequently, he wandered from place to place, and he didn't have tefillin. He didn't care. His mind was all scrambled up. And finally, he made his way to America. He had some uncle or something who lived in America, and he by the time he was like 20 years old or a little bit older, so he got into business. And he changed his name. His name was Lipschitz, and he changed his name to Lef. And he bought himself a big house, and he was really successful in business. But the problem was the evenings. Every time he would be a little bit alone, he would remember the terrible things that happened in the Holocaust. He would see the visions. And so what would he do? He'd take, like, a few beers, would sit in front of the television and drink a few beers until he went to sleep. And then the alarm clock or whatever, he would wake up, take a shower, and run to business. And that's what he would do the whole day. Business. But Torah and the commandments, Shabbat, Yom Tov, kosher, out of the question. He was not going to do it. No, it had nothing to do with it whatsoever. God let him down, and he didn't want anything to do with God. None of the commandments. Didn't want anything. Can't blame the guy. So one night he's sitting in front of the television, and he's watching the television late at night. He's drowsing off, and suddenly he sees, and he's flicking from channel to channel. Flicking that movie you already saw, this movie. This. So all of a sudden he sees there's this old man sitting at this table. There's all these old men sitting behind him, and he's speaking in Yiddish. Right? It was the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and he's speaking. It was a live a broadcast of one of the Rebbe's speeches, Yud Tet Kislev, whatever it was he's speaking. So he's looking at this and said, "Well, this is the most ridiculous thing I ever heard. Who would put a thing like this on television? Then maybe it was on cable television, whatever. Who would have put a thing like this? The most interesting. This is no, probably it's some sort of a movie. Something's going to happen, right? Now something that's part of the movie. This is the beginning of the plot, something like that, and then something is going to happen over there." So he watches and he watches and he watches. He watches for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Nothing happens, right? He's waiting for the music to build up in the background, the violin, and all of a sudden, there's an attack, and all of a sudden something happens, or men from Mars, something's going to happen. Nothing happens. The Rebbe's just sitting there, just talking. And so he says, "Well, this is ridiculous." And he turns it off. He watches something else, but he says, "I'm going to go back to that. It must be something that's going to happen." So he goes back. Same thing. Rebbe's just, and is the translation floating underneath. The translation is floating under the Rebbe speaking, translated into English. The Rebbe speaking in Yiddish. So a little bit he understands Yiddish, but who in the world would put an old man speaking Yiddish on television? Okay, it's true. It was late at night, so it wasn't like prime time or anything like that. And there's no advertisements or anything. You figure once in a while there'll be an advertisement. No, just once in a while he stops speaking, everybody's singing, and then he says l'chaim to people, whatever, and then it goes back. There's no, advertise something. Who's sponsoring this whole business? Anyway, so he's watching the program. So he sees floating underneath. He starts to watch, and he sees floating underneath. All of a sudden, it says, the Rebbe is saying that the Holocaust was a terrible tragedy, but more tragedies have occurred to the Jewish people. The Jewish people have been living through tragedies their whole existence, and anyone who is affected negatively, who doesn't put on tefillin, and because of the Holocaust, is giving a prize to Hitler. So he sees these words. He thought, what type of a thing to say is that? That's terrible. Suddenly he starts to thinking, really, who is benefiting from this that I'm not putting on tefillin? Who's benefiting? That's exactly what Hitler would want. Hitler would want that the people to kill Jews, and that the Jews that are left alive, that they should kill themselves physically, spiritually. He wanted to put an end to Judaism, and I'm helping him. So he sees there's a telephone number. He waits until the morning. He calls the number, and he says, "Who are you? Where are you?" And says, "Well, we have a branch we're Chabad. We have a branch near, where do you live? Is this what city he lives in, what town he lives, what state he lives in?" So he goes to the Chabad house that's nearby him, and he asks if he can get a resume not a resume, what is it called? A summary of the speech that the Rebbe gave last night. And somebody had something, they gave it to him, and he sat down, he learned, he looked at it, and he said, really, the Rebbe is right. What can I do? What am I benefiting by making a war against God? And he bought a pair of tefillin, and he said he's going to start coming to classes, started keeping Shabbos, and he changed his name back to Lipschitz again. In other words, what's the point? What's the point of the story? The point of the story is, yes, the Jewish people have suffered terrible, terrible tragedies, 100%. And in a way, just being born is a tragedy. The soul before it came into the world was pure basking in the oneness of God. We came into the world. Why does God do it? To torture us? Is no. God does it in order that we should transform bad to good. And this is an example. He experienced all the bad, and the bad was really bad, no doubt about it. But his thing is don't be negatively, don't let the bad things conquer your life. The bad is bad. Put that on place, and then you just try to do as much good as possible. And eventually you'll see somehow or other the bad will be transformed to good, like the fasting days will be transformed to days of happiness and rejoicing with Mashiach now. Have a good day. Have a good Shabbat. God willing, we will learn on Sunday morning. I don't know if we'll have a full class, a half class, we'll see. But it's a fast day. Sunday is a fast day. So see you all on Sunday. Hopefully we'll see all, they'll transform to a feast day, and we'll see you all in the Holy Temple. But barring that, right, if Chas v'Shalom, Mashiach doesn't come and gather all the Jews instantly, maybe it'll take them a little bit of time to gather all the Jews together, a day or two, but we'll have a class. Class will be rain or sleet or snow, or Mashiach will not stop the class from going on Sunday in the morning. If you hear that everybody's going to Jerusalem, there won't be a class, then there won't be a class. But barring that option, that possibility, there will definitely be a class on Sunday. God bless you all. Have a good day with Mashiach now, and see you after Shabbat on the fast day, on the feast day of Yud Zayin Tammuz.